All right, so I don't know how it looks, but I have recordings that I tried in 4K, and we're gonna talk about a few other issues that people have told me about on the Insta360 Link 2 and 2C. All right, so I've been using the Link 2C specifically, and I'm gonna show you a few different quirks about it. So, one being I'm recording this in 4K. I don't know what it looks like right now because I have to end it and replay the or play back the video so I can see because I recorded, and if it doesn't do it now, because I think it might not do it, if it doesn't lag in this video that you're watching right now, I will play a clip after this showing a video because I didn't even know, because right now in my viewfinder it looks perfectly normal, and I recorded a intro for one of my podcasts, played it back, and I was like, "What is going on?" It was so choppy, and at that point, I was like, "Okay, there's something weird going on." I had to drop down the quality to get the smoothness back. And I got a comment, so that's why I'm making this video, because I got a comment if I was experiencing any lag in it, and I'm using the recording software, which is what I was using before, Ecamm. That's what I was using for that podcast. So I use that for all of my content. And in a minute, I'm going to switch over to the Insta360 as well. But this is full 4K. Let me know if there's any lag. See if there's any lag. Frames per second is probably forcing the camera to do it. I don't know if even the camera has that option, but that's the other thing, right? So I can already see lag. My solution would be for any delay or lag on this camera is probably going to drop it down. I'm just going to drop it to 2K because I can in my recording software, but I'm going to deal with it because I've already got used to the colors. I kind of like already set up or did my setup for my podcast and content to look a certain way, and I think I'm happy with it. A lot of guys were saying that they preferred the look of the Link 2 versus the OBS bot that I had. Whereas the OBS bot, I'll show you that in another. There's another one. The next one is going to be the lighting. The issue with lighting, because this camera does punch up the colors. It is very vibrant, and it helps if you have low light. So that's why I'm keeping it, just because I already got used to the look and what it does. But I cannot get, or I'm going to be scared to record in full 4K, and that is because I have a MacBook. Um, what is it, M3, the latest MacBook, the one right before the one that, because there's one that just got released like the other day. I got the last one, so it is like not even a year old, and I have the newest MacBook Pro, and I'm getting all this crazy lag and stuff. So just for my peace of mind, I'm gonna drop it to 2K, but I'm okay with it. I'm gonna live with it. If you're buying this and that is an issue, right? You're paying for it. I mean, I paid for it too, but you're paying for it and you're not getting your money's worth or what they advertise, you know, that can be an issue too. All right, so I am back on 2K 30 frames per second, which is I'm okay with this look. So um another comment I got was that and I'll do a test real quick, but they could not use any of the features that this Link 2 offers as far as like bokeh effect, green screen filters, any of those extra things that it does in the virtual camera, which is I'm using the virtual camera for the bokeh effect because I like the way it looks. And they had a relatively decent computer. So they left me a comment, which I appreciate. Like I said, I appreciate all the comments. Important note that they bought it based off reviews and what they saw in mine. So he had a 2019 Mac i9. He's like, it's pretty old, but it's overpowered for what it was back then, right? It was a pretty good computer at the time, which like mine, I don't want to think about like in 4 or 5 years that it's, useless, but uh his had it had a lot of RAM, it had a graphics card, AMD, but it gave him an error that he needed specifically NVIDIA graphics card and an M1 chip for any of the features such as bokeh and all those other filters that, um, that he says that 70% of the features didn't work. So then, I mean, I got questions in those comments about like, so should I or would I still recommend it? Obviously, with anything you buy it, you can return it. So I bought mine off of Amazon. It's really easy to do returns on Amazon. So if I had any of those issues, I would have returned it as well. So I don't have any of those issues, but I have a MacBook Pro M3. So if you have an older M, like it's crazy, from 2019 or anything around there, and you don't have one of the M1 chips or anything like that, it's going to give you that error more than likely, unless there's unless they fix it in the firmware. But if it can't run on a MacBook like that, chances are you're going to run into a lot of issues with any laptop that you buy. Most people are not buying or not paying attention to what kind of laptop they're getting. They're just like, oh, that's the newest one, I'm going to buy it. Um, I have a Windows PC that is technically a gaming laptop. I'm going to try it on that one. If it doesn't work on that one, that is crazy, because like I just bought this MacBook. If I did not buy this MacBook and it doesn't work on my Windows laptop, I would have been screwed. I would have been like, what the hell? It doesn't work. So just keep that in mind. It won't work, or the features will not work with everything or every computer. And the features are the only reason that I kept it. Because if honestly, I would have kept the OpsBot as my main camera because it looked great out of the box, natural, everything like that. So the main thing with this one is the bokeh effect, the colors that come out of it. If you're into that kind of vibrant profile, you get all that with the Link 2 and 2C. But if the features don't work, it's not worth it. Speaking of colors, vibrancy, all that, I have lighting that is super basic, super natural, because the webcam is doing all the color, the vibrancy, and all that in the webcam itself, and it is kind of like tuned that way. So if you don't like that, I mean, that might be an issue, because everything looks very purple behind me, and I actually have a lot of blue, but the purple comes out more. That sign behind me is blue. On the other camera, it comes out purple, but I think here it's a little more realistic. You can tell that it's actually blue. I don't know if I'm gonna do a separate video, but I bought these lights off of TikTok. They have a lot of brightness settings, and then they also have a mixture of warm and cool white LEDs, right? Now you can precisely control how much of each you want. That way you get the perfect temperature on your lighting. These are just white. I mean, I do have a warm feature, so like I think it's, yeah. So that's I guess what they would consider natural. It's both white and warm, and that's warm. So this is like, this one, just because on this camera, like I said, the colors are very different. It affects it. So I go back to cool white, and it's a very natural cool white. Like, it's not super like blue or anything like that, and it looks fine because, again, this is vibrant. So if I turn that one off, you can see how much lighting I need. And I turn this one on. Let's see. I'm going to go to the cool white, just like that one. And it's the same brightness. No. So now this one, I put it too bright. This one has like a blue purple tint to it, right? So this one, depending on your lighting, and that is all the way cool white. Let me add some of the warmth to it. So I can add warmth to it, but it's still going to look purple, or I'm going to look purple. Now I'm going to start looking orange, and I'm going to keep going warmer. You got so many different settings in between. and you can see how much it blows out, right? So like the lighting is going to be different on this one. It's going to be very cool on the cool white, like very bluish, purplish, where I don't get that on this one. That's cool white all the way, and it doesn't look as blue or anything. So, all right, bear with me. I lost some audio in the last clip, and we're just gonna try and wrap things up really quick and get through this outro. So I pulled up the because I do have a few points that I want to make at the end of the video, but I pulled up the Insta360 controller, link controller. So let me get that on screen. All right, so funny enough, I don't know if you can tell, um, I have, I'll show you my settings again, but I have everything on manual now, but my exposure and kind of the brightness level still moves around. So that's kind of weird. So like a minute ago, before I started recording, it got really dark as it adjusted, and then like it lit up a lot. So I have it on manual. I don't know why it's moving around, but let me show you the settings so we can get a little refresher here. So I do have my exposure set manually, and the shutter. Those are the settings that I like to kind of bring down. So basically I have they're not huge lights, but they're two lights to give me a lot of detail, but I don't like that blown out and bright look. So I bring down the exposure a little bit, and then I don't know if I'm being choppy, but um, white balance also, because of the camera and the way that it handles, you know, the tint and the color and stuff. So I will say this one is, I kept saying like, you know, purplish. It's tinted more that way, purplish, magenta, whatever you want to call it. And the OBS bot that I was using before is more natural, but you could see the slightest green in it. So they're just, and I don't like to mess with this stuff too much. So you can see I only messed with the white balance, and then I brought down brightness as well. There's not really anything else for me to mess with as far as colors in this one. And in my recording software, I left it all default. I started using a LUT. So I do have this orange tinted, it's a teal and orange cinema LUT. So I started using that on my own because I use it in my videos. I like the tint that it gives, but I it's like at 8 to 15%. So there you're not gonna be able to see it too much, but it's there. Other than that, everything else is pretty default. I'm just compensating. Oh, there it went dark. Yeah, I don't know. It's on manual. I don't know why it does that. Um, so I'm just trying to compensate a little bit for the way this shoots. It's a little vibrant, and I'm just kind of combating that in the settings. And of course, I have my bokeh effect and all that. So just, you know, preference. These are our frame rates. You can go from 4K 30 down to 25, 24, same thing for 1080p and 720p. So there's no 60 frames per second in here. Some people had asked about that. So if you want 60 frames per second, that is not built into this webcam, which is funny because I can't do it while I'm recording, but in my software, it lets me do that. All right, so in my software, I'm allowed to go up to 60 frames per second. I guess it's just like the default settings. It's like, what do you want? 30, 50, 60. And I'm on 60, 4K right now. I don't know if it's going to be messing with the uh choppiness or lag or anything like that. I mean, you guys tell me. I did go back and watch some other videos, kind of doing more research on this, and people are complaining about basically the choppiness. They're like, is that frame stutter part of, is it the camera or is it your recording software? So I don't know. I went up to 60 frames per second. I don't know if this is going to be looking good enough. It's okay. It looks okay on my screen, but we'll see in the recording. And actually, I think I have an update. I thought I had updated this camera, and I was like, maybe it fixed itself, but I actually have not updated it. So if there's any issue with it, maybe the update will help. And I'm going to do that right now. And typically, I don't like to have the app, whatever software any webcam comes with, I don't like to have it open because it kind of messes with the camera in real time where I can just set it and forget it and then record like with everything closed. If you open up the software while you're recording, it might give you a different, like on the OBSBot, was it the OBSBot? It sharpened for some reason when the app was open. And then this one, I think the exposure changes sometimes when it's open. So those are little quirks where it would work in reverse when I had the what was the other one? Logitech, the Brio. I would go, it would forget the settings, so I had to make sure that I had the app open so it wouldn't um so it would go back to the look that I had. So another little tidbit, because I was reviewing, I don't know where it is, but I was reviewing the eMeet 4K webcam, which actually when I started recording, it was out of the box. I love to try them out of the box before I tweak anything, before I mess with anything. Like, how does it look, right? Because most consumers, they buy it, plug it in, and just want it to work. Especially people that just use it for meetings, stuff like that. You just plug and play. That one, I did not. I was very underwhelmed, unhappy with it, and lo and behold, I had an update that I did a few days later, and it changed the look drastically. It ended up looking just as good as this camera or the OpSpot, whereas before it looked like an older webcam. But I knew it had the same half-inch sensor that all three of these cameras have the same sensor in them. So I'm like, why does it look so bad? Most likely you need to be checking if you have an update. So we went to, or right now I'm going over here. I thought I had done this. I had not. So we have an update to our actual Link 2C camera. So in this one, you're going to get the optimize image effect, audio effects, and then it fixed some bugs for system stability and user experience. Let's see if this makes any difference. I'm going to hit update and we'll get back to it after it updates. All right, so we are now on the latest firmware of the Insta360 Link 2C, and I don't know. We are back at just what it allows, full 4K, 30 frames per second. Hopefully it's not too choppy or anything like that. So I just want to kind of quickly close the video here. If you guys are looking to buy the Insta360 Link 2 or 2C, just keep a few things in mind, right? So obviously look into the specs. Typically as a buyer, I go to reviews, I go and look at if it has, the specs that I want. Is it 4K? Is it, what frames per second is it? A lot of little things. I don't, I'm still new to this whole content creation webcam thing. So like, I didn't even go look at what is required to run this webcam. So let's look at that together. If you guys go to Insta360, go over to their Link 2 and 2C product page, go to specs, and then scroll all the way down. We can look at it together. So it gives you everything that it can do. And felt like this looked different on Chrome, but okay. System requirements. You need an i5 or later, and you need obviously Windows 10 or later, Mac OS 10.13 or later, and 8 gigs of RAM. Some features require 16 gigs of RAM. Did I miss something? If I go to Safari, it gives me system requirements, but that's it. Like your basic, like a super basic list. Yeah, I don't see what I was seeing earlier. Okay, I don't know why I'm getting a different page, whether I'm on Safari browser or Chrome. So let's go back to the Chrome one that I was looking at. Here, it gives you what it needs. Windows 10, Mac OS 10.13. Now, underneath that, but only in the Chrome one for some reason, it tells you background blur and background replacer. It supports all NVIDIA GPUs. Now, I had an AMD, so now it says AMD GPUs may experience some issues And it says, please contact, them before purchasing. The only verified AMD GPUs are the Radeon. I have Radeon. The Vega 10, and it gives you a list right there. On Windows, it's the same for both. All right, if we scroll a little bit more, Natural Bokeh. Oh, maybe this is why I couldn't use it. It's only the NVIDIA GTX 1080 or later, and then does not support any AMD. So that's the issue I had. I have a gaming laptop that had AMD in it, a pretty decent one, I thought. And then it says on Mac, you need an M1 chip or later. Does not support any Intel chips. So if you're, like I said, if you're purchasing this, do your research. That was not something that even I thought about. And like I said, if I didn't have this new MacBook, I just bought this because I do content creation. I went and bought a MacBook because before I did everything on Windows, I wouldn't have been able to use what I wanted out of it. So make sure you are aware of those requirements. It doesn't work with all the features that that they sell you on. It works as a webcam. You can use it by all means as just a nice webcam, but you're not going to get, which I think most people that have webcams or even stream, they're going to have a background or they're going to blur out the background. It's pretty common. So if you can't do that, I mean, it is what it is. So just keep the requirements in mind, the color and the lighting in mind. I don't like to mess with the tint too much, but you can. And I've done it because I have to test several of these now. Go to your tint and kind of play around with it, see what color you like. Bring down the saturation if that's a problem or anything like that. But you can always tweak these things either in your recording software or in that software. I feel like I'm still being choppy. And that's another thing. This camera, I don't know if it's maxing out what it's capable of. So I've been more comfortable recording in 2K, and then I just kind of throw in 4K clips. Like I mix a lot of my stuff when I'm editing, and I export everything as 4K. So I still get the 4K out of it. I feel like the quality is the same. It's just I don't want the jitter and the choppiness in it. So we're testing this video in 4K, but I do most of my content on this webcam in 2K. Just that's my workaround. If that's a problem, just keep that in mind. The only other issue I've had, but that's an issue on me, is if your computer is low on storage, or if you're low on RAM, you make sure you have like I said, 16 or higher. Make sure you have good RAM, good memory, and good storage, because that's when you'll have a lot of other issues. And in a video coming up, I'll go over, kind of the stuff that I've done to fix that and work around. Yeah, because I only have like 500 gigs on my computer, and editing and recording, that'll get eaten real quick. So I have external hard drives galore. So we'll get into that in another video. So I just wanted to kind of quickly go over a few things here. I think that covers everything. I mean, you can still make your own choice, and like the image, if you do have everything that it needs, and it either works for you in 4K or works for you in 2K, like the way I'm doing it. I do like the look of it. Like, I do enjoy it. Everything's been pretty good for me. I use it for podcasting, doing the content on this channel pretty much exclusively, and I'm happy with it. If anything, I would have gone back to the OBSBot, but here we are. My OBSBot is the drop-down camera for now, and I'm pretty happy with it. And I hope that makes your decision a little bit easier, because I know, like, you go to YouTube to look up reviews, and a lot of times it's a first look, unboxing, things like that. So I've been using it for a little while. Like I said, I'm happy with it, but there are some quirks with it. It's not perfect. I wish it was a little bit better. And, we'll see how it goes. So remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you guys have any other questions or issues with it, let me know. I'll be more than happy to go over it with you. And yeah, I'll see you guys.